This is ShadowQuant, Crypto Edition, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Tuesday, April 21, 2026, and this is the New York pre-market. Now, let's get into it. Bitcoin just broke above $76,000 for the first time in 2 weeks, climbing 1.2% as institutional capital shifts toward decentralized finance protocols. Meanwhile, the Fear and Greed Index remains at 14/100, the lowest since late 2024. The VIX is at 17.48, down from 17.94 last week, but Bitcoin futures open interest is at 2024 lows, suggesting reduced institutional participation. Let's go over the calls from last session. Pulse, you called bullish on Bitcoin, targeting $77,500. The actual price was $76,025, up just 0.2%. Grid also called bullish, targeting $76,500. Price was flat. CIPHER had the same call. SPECTER was bearish, predicting $74,000. Market was flat. Apex called bullish, targeting $77,500. Again, flat. That's 35% accuracy for Pulse, 49% for Grid, 46% for CIPHER, 41% for SPECTER, and 44% for Apex. SPECTER, what were you missing last time?
I was overemphasizing the bearish macro. The reality is, the market isn't as weak as I thought. I missed the retail-driven momentum in decentralized finance. I'll focus more on volume and sentiment next time.
Pulse, your accuracy is still low, 35%. What's your new approach? I'm adjusting to focus more on retail sentiment, not just institutional data. I missed the decentralized finance momentum last time. I'll be looking closer at Reddit and Twitter activity. Apex, your 44% accuracy is still below 50%. What changed?
I've been too reliant on technicals. I'm starting to incorporate more on-chain data and decentralized finance flows. The market is more complex now, and I need to adapt.
Let's look at the big picture. The Fear and Greed Index is at 14/100, still in extreme fear. The VIX is at 17.48, down from last week. Bitcoin is at $76,025, up 1.2%. Ethereum is at $2,307.20, down 0.33%. Decentralized finance tokens like XLM and Chainlink are outperforming. Let's start with the headlines. First, let's look at the headline from CoinDesk. The U.S. Senate housing bill includes a CBDC ban. SPECTER, what does that mean for crypto?
A CBDC ban could limit government control over digital money, which is a win for crypto. But it's not a major catalyst. The real issue is whether the bill passes. If it does, it could ease regulatory concerns and attract more institutional interest.
Now the second headline. PayPay, a major player in Binance Japan, is seeking a $1.10 billion IPO on Nasdaq. Grid, how does that affect the market?
PayPay's IPO could bring more institutional attention to crypto. If it's successful, it could set a precedent for other crypto firms to list on major exchanges. That's a positive signal for the sector.
CIPHER, how do on-chain flows look?
There's a noticeable shift toward decentralized finance protocols. TVL is up, and there's more activity in tokenized assets. That's a good sign, but Bitcoin's futures open interest is still at 2024 lows. That's a red flag. Institutions aren't as engaged as they could be.
Let's move to Bitcoin. Pulse, what's the sentiment? The sentiment is mixed. The Fear and Greed Index is at 14, but Bitcoin is holding up. Retail investors are still buying, despite the broader market fear. It's a sign of resilience. Let's talk about Bitcoin's price action. Grid, what's your technical read?
Bitcoin is consolidating above $76,000. The 50-day moving average is at $75,800. That's a key support level. If it holds, we could see a move towards $76,500, but if it breaks below, we could see a correction.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
The flow data shows that Bitcoin dominance is at 57.6%, which is still strong. But the 24-hour volume is up 1.2%, which suggests more activity. However, the future's open interest is still low. That's a sign that institutions aren't fully committed.
SPECTER, do you agree with this?
I don't. The low volume and open interest are a red flag. We're seeing a retail-driven rally, not institutional one. That's risky. If the momentum fades, we could see a sharp pullback.
Let's move to Ethereum. Grid, what's your technical read?
Ethereum is struggling to break above $2,300. The 50-day moving average is at $2,280. That's a key resistance. If it holds, we could see a move toward $2,350. But if it breaks below, we could see a drop to $2,250.
Pulse, what's the sentiment on Ethereum?
The sentiment is cautious. Ethereum is underperforming Bitcoin, and that's a sign of weakness. Retail investors are still favoring Bitcoin over altcoins.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
Ethereum's dominance is at 10.5%, which is down from last week. That's a sign that investors are shifting toward Bitcoin and decentralized finance. The decentralized finance tokens like XLM and Chainlink are outperforming.
Let's talk about XLM. Grid, what's the technical read?
XLM is at $0.17, up 6.21% in 24 hours. The 50-day moving average is at $0.16. That's a key support level. If it holds, we could see a move toward $0.18, but if it breaks below, we could see a drop to $0.15.
Pulse, what's the sentiment on XLM?
The sentiment is strong. Retail investors are buying XLM, and that's driving the price up. But the volume is low, that's a risk. If the momentum fades, we could see a correction.
CIPHER, what's the flow data saying?
XLM's volume is low, but the price is up. That suggests a retail-driven rally. There's also a lot of speculation, which is risky. If the price pulls back, we could see a sharp drop.
SPECTER, do you agree?
I'm not convinced. The rally in XLM is speculative, and the low volume suggests that it's not sustainable. I think the price will correct soon.
SPECTER, you pushed back on Grid read on XLM. Let's dig into that. Grid, what's your argument?
The price is at $0.17 and the 50-day moving average is at $0.16. That's a key support level. If it holds, we could see a move toward $0.18. I think the rally is sustainable.
I disagree. The low volume suggests that it's not institutional buying, it's retail-driven. If the momentum fades, we could see a sharp drop. The price is overbought and that's a risk.
CIPHER, what's your take?
I think it's a mix of both. There's a retail-driven rally, but the fundamentals are weak. The price could go higher, but it's not a safe bet.
My 24-hour call. Bitcoin bullish. Target $76,300 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bullish, target $76,500 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bullish, target $77,000 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bearish, target $75,500 by next session.
My 24-hour call, Bitcoin bullish, target $76,800 by next session.
So, the consensus is that Bitcoin is likely to hold above $76,000, but there are concerns about the low volume and open interest. The decentralized finance tokens like XLM and Chainlink are outperforming, but the overall market remains cautious. Keep an eye on Bitcoin's price action and the flow data. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Crypto Edition. Stay tuned for the New York session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.